Oh, sorry guys. Um, Let me share this to people. I can't wait for people to join watch click on the video and be like, "What is going on?" Okay. All right. Let me turn that off. You're gonna hear a little bit of clicking. I'm just getting stuff set up for a second. All right. Hello, just saying. Welcome to the chat. Hello. We're gonna be talking about close species and adoptables, but I'm gonna wait until a few more people join before I start doing any of that stuff. But I will be drawing as I talk. So, all right. I screwed myself because I closed the layer. There you go. There's the layers. Jeez. Okay. Now I'm not gonna touch any more of the layers. And I clicked on the wrong folder. All right. Okay. Now I close out of layers. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna wait a little bit more before. Yippee, drawing straight. Yeah, I'm drawing. I'm working on so before I'm not really gonna get into like the discussion yet, but I'm working on draw the star snare above. The star snare species is doing a drawing event of like draw the character above, and that's what I'm working on right now. And then after I do that, I'm gonna be working on Halatar auto buy rewards, because I hosted a collaboration adopt with another permanent guest artist, Legendary Potatoes, on the Star Snare species. So, um, and I'll explain to you, if you have no idea what close species or adoptables or any of that is, I will be explaining that I'll be explaining that later when more people join the stream here. I know it's like really late. It's right now. You guys don't see it for me, but it is 12 a.m. and I am expecting to be here for the long run, guys, cuz um I'm still pretty new to the closed species area. No, that's all right. I will explain things and certain terminology. I'm just waiting until more people join, but I'm just saying what I'm doing right now. So a draw character above is a kind of a game. For this species, it's called star snares. So we say draw the star. Jeez, it's a tongue twister. Draw the star snare above. Um, but I mean, for my own species, froggy species, we have draw the frog or poacher above, because there's two species within my community. But my community is not a closed species, and I'll be explaining the difference between open and closed species in later. So, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask as I talk about things. Honestly, I was planning for this stream for me to just kind of go over terminology and just kind of talk about like my own experiences within these communities. I originally was working on a video to talk about my experiences within the communities, but I just kept re-recording my responses and stuff. I was just like, it just wasn't good enough. I just didn't have a good enough explanation for the terminology of closed species and adoptables. So that's why I'm deciding I'm just going to do a stream where I can just kind of say it and then just kind of go on from there, if that makes sense. So, and it looks like we have two people. I think I'm gonna wait for another few minutes, but I'm going to just be drawing, and I'll keep the chat up so I can see what y'all are saying. But yeah, so I'll get some other terminology out the way, I guess, that you'll hear me mention a bit. One of them will be guest artist. A guest artist, I guess you know what, maybe I will just get into the terminology, and if somebody wants me to repeat, I'll just repeat, and that's okay, since this is a stream. So, we'll start with closed species real quick since you said you're pretty new. Closed species are so it's like a concept. So these are a concept of creatures, um, and you're not really allowed to make your own unless you're given specific permission from the creator of that species or those species. Um, and there's a lot more that really goes into that, and I was thinking tomorrow I'm going to do a secondary stream where I talk more about like the dramas and controversies around closed species. But for this stream I was kind of just wanting to talk about my own experiences with it, so I'm not going to get too much about the the legality or the controversies that come with making a species concept. And then um and I know a lot of people say gatekeeping it, because in reality, it really is kind of gatekeeping a concept or like traits applying to an animal or creature. Um, and in all honesty, I think with my own experiences within these communities, most of the time most people, including myself, we don't really care if you make your own creature with, but you just can't call it the same species. You can use certain similar traits and stuff. So, um, and you may be wondering, like, how does that work if I'm not allowed to make one myself? But you just said I'm allowed to make one, but you're not allowed to call it the species itself. Um, so a few ways of obtaining it's more closed species, in my opinion, is more of a closed community, where if you're able to get a design within that community, you're automatically accepted into the community. However, you don't have to have a design that is within that community or species to participate in that community, but it is a lot easier to get noticed within the community. Because sometimes there'll be things like popular designs that people have gotten, or just like well-known character designs, just because of just if you're staying active within the community. I know I actually have a character. I'll bring up my character here so you guys can see him. I adopted this frog, this froggy adopt in the Halatar species server, Discord server, and I know my character has a little bit of a presence. Just simply, it's like a gated community. Yes, that is a really good example. I thought about using that as an example. So it's like technically you could, like, it's like, yeah, gated communities, because like if you own a property, you're able to be within the community. And I know for a lot of people, closed species could be more like a status symbol or something. Like, let's say you're like one of the cool kids now because you own this or that. And I can also compare it to the recent trend of Labubus when it comes to like owning like a cool Labubu or something. It's not that you can't make your own, because it's like you can still make your own. Like, I bet there's people who make bootleg Labubus or like their own Labubu. I know it's like copyrighted, trademarked, all this sort of things, and that's an whole other issue. But but just saying, like, conceptually wise. So hold on, let me like, I'm like struggling to find my reference of Lotus really quick. Hold on. This is Lotus. This is my little froggy. I adopted him within the Halatar species server. Halatars are a closed species, and the species is like, they're kind of bird-like, but their faces are masks. So, if I were to draw over this really quick, so you can kind of get a concept. So the mask is like this whole section up here, and then this is like the face area. That's the species kind of gimmick here, is this mask. And that they have like bird features. And now there are like other types of them. I think the first version of the species were called pips, which are like more bird-like. So they have like little bird feet. They still have the mask here. I'll draw the mask line so you can see where the mask is. And then the face is like underneath. and their anatomy is kind of like, let's say if I drew this character on the side profile here, you'll see like kind of it'll be a lot more clear of how the mask shows up, and then their mask like opens up like that, like that's how their faces open up. Um, so that's kind of the gimmick of holotar species. I'd say every species has some sort of gimmick. So for a lot of close species there's gimmicks and this and that, and just little quirks about them, but it's not still, this thing isn't stopping people from making bird characters or like owl characters with ears and feathers and fancies, because this is literally a bird inspired species, and it's not stopping you from having those bird aspects. So but as long as you don't exactly copy the species and say it's that species, you're pretty much fine. So like if I were to make, like I said, like I'm just drawing a little owl on the side, like that's okay, like you can do that. But to make this and then say that it's a halatar um is where we have problems, though, because if you want to be a participant within the community, you would probably follow those rules and stuff like that. But it's also, I understand that it's also could be hard for people when it comes to like close species and trying to enter these communities, because it can be locked by payment. So you would have to pay for a design, or you'd have to pay to make your own. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but once again, it's more of like you said as an example, it's a gated community. So so now that we got that out the way of like what is a closed species, their concept of critters made by someone, and then it's like locked behind the gated community. Um i i can now kind of get more into like, I guess I'll talk about adoptables too, because it's a big part of these close species communities too. Honestly, I'd say in any species community, adoptables will be a big thing. And adoptables is when an artist makes a design and then they sell them, or give them away or trade them or whatever, any method of giving them away to some degree. And that's what an adoptable is. Now, there's a lot more like kind of nitty gritty, I'd say, when it comes to like legality of adoptables, because it depends if the artist has a lawyer or not. Like most artists do not. I will say this: most artists do not have lawyers or contracts relating to their designs, and a lot of it is done. Like if an artist has a terms of service relating to their designs or art, a lot of it is kind of more so like the honor code. Um, it very rarely will you come across an adoptable artist who actually has a lawyer who, where you won't get commercial. Let's say you won't get commercial rights of the design, or you won't fully own the design, but you'll own like a license for the design. But most of the time, like I'm saying here, um, you will get full rights to the design, because when an artist sells a design, they're selling the whole character and their IP, intellectual property. So just gonna explain that really quick here. I think it's really important to just kind of get the basics down while I'm just like explaining it. Okay, so I guess I'll get into the meat and potatoes since it's been like 12 minutes here. And I appreciate y'all who are sticking around. I love you guys. Love you guys platonically. Thank you so much. No, I really appreciate it. Um but I'll get into like story time, I guess. And for anyone who's, and I'll put a timestamp for people who are like watching post stream. I always try to make sure I include folks for who watch after stream, because I think a lot of my viewers, weirdly enough, I think a lot of my viewers are when I see viewers on my streams, I think it's people who are watching after the stream. And I just want to acknowledge you guys really quick, because I understand like not everyone has time to hop on a stream and watch live. And I love you guys too. still. So I just want to say that real quick. And I appreciate all the support. So I'm gonna get into while I'm drawing, I'm gonna get into talking about my own experiences with closed species community, as well as just the adoptable community in general too. So to start off, I started in the adoptables community back in 2020, after I think midway through high school, and and this is when I kind of started dabbling, like started to dip my toes into adoptables and like making designs and stuff. I don't really think I gained a lot of traction wise, and but I will say a lot of my designs back then, I did find homes, whether it was through giveaways or I always made sure that every design that I made it to a home. So, um, and that was a big goal of mine back then. It's still a goal now. I still try to make sure every design I make tries to get a good home, but sometimes I have to drag a little. I have to figure out ways to like either give them away and stuff. But I can't really afford to give away my designs all the time. As now, like as I'm no longer in high school nor am I in college anymore. I'm graduated from college. I I do need to save every cent for hopefully being able to move out of my parents' places. So, um, my designs now, I don't really uh I'm a lot more picky with how I let them go. If it's a design that I think I would gain more from giving away, so as in like more followers or this or that, then I would give it away. But if it's something that I think I would get more, like I would lose more, like I spent so much time on this design and I'd rather get paid for it, which I believe people should get paid for their work. Artists should be paid for their work. And I know like I feel like I have a controversial take when it comes to adoptable artists and like close species artists and stuff, but I'll get into that eventually. um so I guess to start with my first experience with close species, since I just explained to you guys a little bit of my experiences with like just starting out as an adoptable artist. So one of the things is um okay. So one of the first close species that I got into, I was on Instagram, and a lot of the communities that I partook when back in 2020/2021 were on Instagram. Instagram was a lot more artist friendly, I'd say, back in 2020, but even then it did get very hostile. Like it did go downhill after 2022, I'd say. Um so 2020, I found a community called Kitsugamis, and this is baby's first closed species I've ever participated in. I had no idea how they worked, and all I knew was, dang, I really want to get one of these things because they're so sick. Hi, Buttercubic. Welcome to the stream. I'm talking about closed species and adoptables. So if you go a few minutes back, I do talk about the um I give definitions and stuff. But if you just want to stick along, I'm just doing story time. But you can also search up these terms because I'm going to be using adoptables and close species. So if you want to look up what they are, or just wait until I recap it after the story or something. Just gonna say that. Anyways, welcome to the stream. Okay, I'm gonna go back to storytelling. So, yes, so back to what I was saying. So, Kitsugamis were my first close species that I got into. Oh my god. So, and I really wanted one. So, the first, I don't have it on file right now. I would have to look up. You know what? No, I can't look it up right away because I know my computer is going to absolutely like um it's going to poop itself. It's going to poop itself if I try to open another window while I'm streaming. I'm actually like doing limited windows right now. I only have art window in stream window open. Actually, let me close another window. I got two windows open. So, hope and pray for my computer. Let me unplug my charger, because sometimes my charger also kills my computer. All right. So I should be fine. I'm just realizing that my computer's lagging just because of my lines here. You can see the drag line, the lag of the drag. All right. So Kitsugamis were my first species. I really wanted one, and I offered my first actually the first adoptable I ever got was on DeviantArt for 2 points, and that's like less than a penny. Points are like almost worthless um if you're only getting like so much. So, but my second adoptable that I got was Kitsugamis, and I offered on an artist's adoptable, and the character's name is Mocha. I still have her on my toy house, actually, on my alt toy house. And I'll show her if you guys are interested. I'll show her later. Um, but so yeah, I got that character, and I think I was just kind of like, I was really trying to get more characters, but I mostly waited until the make your own events. They had them pretty often, so it wasn't really hard to get one yourself. I'd say the amount of followers that the species had was a very beginner. It was a very easy to get into community, because it was only like, I think a few thousand, which is like nothing. That's like nothing within close species communities. That's like that's baby level. um so so that's what happened. The community, I'm gonna say this, the community absolutely died. And the reason why the species no longer exists anymore, and it's not because of the Instagram algorithm changing, and and not gonna lie, a lot of species actually had, either to survive, your close species to survive on the Instagram, you actually had to move majority of your following over to Discord. So that's what a lot of close species ended up doing, and a lot of communities ended up just moving to Discord. So and I ended up moving my froggy species to Discord and Toy House, as um that's where it's at, guys. That's where it's at. So but yeah, so but Kitsugami's never made it that far. They died in 2020, and the reason why they died in 2020 was because the creator was homophobic and didn't allow people to make pride flag inspired Kitsugami designs. And their reason was because homosexuality wasn't natural in nature. Crazy, am I right? Crazy. Oh my gosh. Please, YouTube. I am pro LGBT. I'm not saying anything hate speech. I'm just talking about a drama. Please do not strike me down. I'm clarifying this now because you guys have given me a strike in the past for a friend of mine on a rank video saying something bad. And I should not be held accountable for my friend, and I pleaded to delete that video. Anyways, that is another problem for another day. I actually have a warning on my channel because of a friend who said something stupid in a live stream, and that was not me. And I said, bro, that's not, I think I replied to him saying, like, dude, when did you say that? So I did not even endorse him. So anyways, not to get on a side tangent, but yeah, like the reason why the species died was because the creator was homophobic, and the creator was also like, I'm not gonna lie, the creator of the species was 13, and also lives within a Christian household, like a conservative Christian household. So I think I'm not gonna blame the kid, because I do think there was a bit of like right-wing indoctrination when it came to the moral compass, or like the like the beliefs of the kid of the creator slash kid of this closed species. So um I guess that was baby Lou's first close species drama. And it's not really the drama that you think. When you hear close species drama, you think of like money issues or this or that. No, it was because the creator was homophobic. So um, and it does suck that the creator did end up getting like death threats and stuff by people, and I was like, I thought that was a bit ridiculous, and I did reach out to them to say, like, I do think it's a little messed up that you're like being homophobic, but it's not cool that people are sending you death threats. They did end up just fully leaving the internet and stuff, and I do not blame them, of course. I hope that they have their perspective has changed, as well as I hope they're not like completely like against like the LGBT just because of that experience too. That they just and I hope that they're just in a better place right now. That's all I really hope for that creator and that of that species and stuff. Um so before I get into Solemn species, which is a species that I actually had I had more involvement in. So I even was onboarded as an event staff member as well as an artist, I'd say like a year later. So quick context for Butter Cubic. Um so closed species are kind of, I explained earlier, they're kind of a concept of, so like creature concept made by a person, but you're not allowed to make your own without unless you have the permission of the creator. And a lot of times people get their gripes about this because they're like, why am I not allowed to make a creature from your species and stuff? And there's a lot of different reasons for why people wouldn't want other people to make designs within their creature species or communities and stuff. But in my opinion, I think a lot of closed species are more of a closed community, gated community is what just Jaying said earlier in the chat actually. So that's kind of the best way for me to describe it here. And adoptables are designs that artists sell and trade or give away online and things like that. Um and it gets a lot more messier than that in my opinion, but so that's a little bit of the recap of terminology here. And I'm just talking about, for this stream, I'm talking about my experiences within the closed species and adoptable community. So I guess after Kitsugami's 2020, late 2020, early 2021, I was a very active member within the closed species community Solums, and I actually have a few Solums on my computer that I can just pull up and show on the stream here so you guys can see them. I'm gonna say this right now before I get into talking about that, because I know there's going to be, if there's anybody from Solemn species who watches my videos or this or that, I am not dogging on the species itself, but I am going to be dogging on the ex owner. The owner, it was the previous owner. The species is now under new ownership as of like, I think, beginning of this year or something like that. Or is like midway through this year. Something crazy happened, and I'm not going to get into that here because I'm only going to talk about my experiences with working with this species, being a part of it too. I would say I had a blast when I was just a community member. I did not have a blast when I was a part of the staff team, and I'm going to explain why. So here's actually one of my own characters within. This is I had a lot of make your owns and stuff. Like I got like make your owns from my terms as when I was a part of staff, as well as just they readily give away make your own, so it's actually really easy to obtain within this community, and I really appreciate that within. And that's something that I can say that's a good thing about this community, is how if you're if you're wanting to be a participant, it's really easy to be a participant within the community, and it's easy to just to make friends and things like that. For me, being active in this community, if I were to be active now, it's a little bit harder, since I think the this is a little bit more of a beginner species for people to be getting into, and I think for a lot of beginner species or medium-sized species like Solums and Halatars, for as I'm giving examples, um there will be a much younger demographic of people within these communities. So, you if you are an adult like me, you're like in your 20s, you're going to be interacting with a lot of people who are much younger, who are like their teens and stuff. And you will also have to kind of recognize that when you make things like, let's say, giveaways, sometimes people won't be thankful that you sat down to make something for free for people. Some people don't like acknowledge that, and that's just something that you kind of have to pass. When you have to acknowledge when you are participating as an artist within these medium-sized communities. But that's saying if you're able to get a position as a guest artist or an artist within the community. um all right, so for Solemn Species, I actually was never a guest artist, and I think if they were to ever open guest artists, I may apply, but it's not a guarantee. I have a lot of baggage behind with this species, and when I kind of recount my events with the community and like working within the community, I think a lot of it was just miscommunication between the owner and me, and I thought I was being very communicative, but there were just we were just not on the same page a lot of times, I think. And that isn't of fault of, I want to say, hold on, indoctrination or cult mentality, your call. Hold on, the stream chat is not refreshing. Let me like refresh this darn thing. Give me a second. Okay, so it's probably censoring your message, and I'm not able to uncensor it in my on my page here on the stream site thing. Sorry if I'm talking really slow. I'm having like one of those moments where I'm really struggling to talk right now. So if you're with so please bear with me, guys. I know I'm a slow talker. You guys need to put me on like 2 times speed if you're watching after the live. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. Let me like recuperate myself. A bunch of meanies. Oh. Sorry. I really struggle with speaking sometimes. Um Me when I forget that I'm autistic. That's crazy. I normally I am not struggling this much with talking. I'm just it's I have a hard time when recounting my bad experiences. I rather talk about good experiences. So you guys can see when I talk much more quickly when I'm talking about things that I like than when I talk about things that I don't like. I talk a lot slower when I talk about things that I don't like. And so just saying that. Yeah, no, I love hearing your own pace. Don't force yourself to be a bit faster. Thank you. I really appreciate. But I'm just going to explain that really quick. Just that's why I'm talking so slow, is because I'm having a hard time recounting things. I tend to put things that I don't like in the vault of my head. All right, so Solemn Species. I'm gonna move away and keep drawing so like I can like be able to multitask right here. So back to Solemn Species. So I was a pretty active member within the community, I'd say, and I don't really think I had any issues as a community member. And I think the only times I did have issues is when I participated in contests, and then I wouldn't win those contests, but the owner of the species did allow the owner of the species to take my designs and raffle them off and do whatever. Um but it did feel kind of wrong that I wasn't being told or like alerted when the owner took my designs and did raffle them off. It's like she did them whenever she wanted and didn't tell me. And I know it was like, I know I entered the contest, but there was like no terms of service or just any awareness of, if they were going to do something like that. I did give the owner permission to do that, but I wish she did notify me about that beforehand. And it did kind of stink to like suddenly notice like my design on Toy House, but it wasn't even credited to me properly. So I had to go and get my, like, ask the owners of those designs to like add me as credits. I'm really kind of picky about like when it comes to like people crediting my work. I That's all I want, is to be credited. um I allow people to have like commercial use of my designs. Like, I don't really care. Like, you can buy it for $2 or you can get it for free, and I don't really care if you use it for commercial use as long as you credit me. Like, that's the one thing that's like I'm a big like stickler about, is just crediting artists, and that's it. That's all I care about. Um but yeah, like that. And I have one strict rule on my terms of service when it comes to my designs. But every other thing, it's like, I don't care if you resell it, I don't care if you change the name, you redesign them, this and that. I think the one thing I don't allow for people to do is, let's say you get a design from me that's from my species, froggy species. They're an open species. That means anyone can make their own. And it's ironic because people actually don't want to make their own when you have an open species. It's so ironic because closed species, people always want to make one of their own characters within your species. However, you have an open species, people don't know what to do, and they're like, wait, I can make my own? But then they don't want to because they're just gonna get a design from one of the designers within that community instead. But I just had to say the irony behind that. Open species is more so like anyone can make their own. I'm more of a big fan of open species, but I do talk about closed species. I'm talking about closed species here because I do deeply care about them. Um, but yeah, so that's one of my gripers with the not solemn species, but it's more so a particular individual instead. And I'm not going to name drop the original owner because the original owner got banned from like like a lot. I think almost every social media she has been like deleted or like reported because she ended up scamming a bunch of her community members. She took a bunch of commissions, but then never completed them and just left the Discord server of the Solum species. Now you guys know why there's like new management for that species, and why I'm not going to be talking ill of like current species, because I don't know how the current management is, and I'm going to assume that it's better than how it used to be, and that they're actually properly, well, first of all, they're properly compensating their design staff and their staff in general. So one of the things that they used to do when I was a part of the event staff is that they would only allow us to have one adopt per month to make profit off of. Um, so that was our basically our payment, and we were also required to do a lot of stuff too. Um, and the thing was is that it was all volunteer work basically, and we were being like, and I I do believe in properly paying your staff and this and that. Or if you're doing volunteer work, at least let your staff just make like more than however many designs, because like I understand designers having a little bit more of a cap limit and stuff like that, but like people who are doing the much harder work like master list, which is going to be big thing within the closed species community that I will have to explain here. Master list stuff, that's just making sure all the characters and designs have been cataloged. So a master list is just the catalog of all the designs and who designed them, who owns them, and this and that. It's a little bit. I know it sounds a little bit control freaky. I get it. I totally get it. Um, I'm not really that much of a control freak. The only control freak I am a little bit about is when it comes to when I make designs relating to my storm creature species and I sell them online. I am a little bit more of a control freak relating to that, and I do have a master list of all the designs that I've sold relating to the storm, because the storm I am planning to actually make into a video game. So, but going back to the Solum species, um, I'm sorry guys if you hear background noise. My little brother's watching Stranger Things outside. Um, but oh wow, I'm really kind of struggling with this character's anatomy. Hello. They have like barnacles and stuff on the like barnacle spikes on their character. It's cool. I like this character. It's funny because the owner of this character said that they couldn't join the stream, and I'm like, oh no, they're not gonna be watching me draw their character. Anyway, so it's a perfect time to do that. I sorry guys. I have to check something really quick. Give me 1 second, guys. I didn't mean to go completely silent, as I got a notification, and I was like, oh oh shoot. Okay, sorry. Okay. I was sorry. I got a reply from an artist I commissioned, and I was like, "Oh, hello." I also was checking my messages to make sure I was using the correct pronouns for the person whose character I'm drawing really quick, and well, they go by all pronouns. It's all right. All right, whatever. It's all right. It's okay. All right, so where was I? Are you guys still there? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm talking so slowly. Um, I'm getting distracted. I know it's late, and I appreciate you guys sticking around here right now. This is like the best that y'all are here. Um, but yeah, this spinal cord, the spine of this character. Yeah, so when I was event artist, okay, I guess I go back. Okay, so when I was event artists they would help with the events within the community, and the community events can be things from like games or like ARGs kind of type thing, where they would have more interactable things for people and their characters, like let's say draw prompts. So this is where an artist would draw their character doing something in the certain prompt that is given, and then they would get a reward like in like species currency. So the species can be gamified basically, and you can upgrade your characters or get new characters with that in that species currency. It's not real money, by the way, guys. It's like fake currency and stuff like that, but or digital currency. Um, and that's a lot of ways artists or participants within this community can obtain more make your owns, or be able to make more of like their own characters within this community. Um, so what I did was I would help with kind of like cataloging things and just making sure people got the right amount of payment for based on uh like I like the example I gave is their their art prompts and stuff, and we would give a specific amounts of like in-species currency and things. So, wow, I am struggling with drawing this tail. What the what in tarnation? What in tarnation? Okay, so I I like to think I did my job well. But to be fair, it was me and one other person who worked as an event, who did the event work and things like that. And I also took on, I did take on a lot of work with like extra work, which such as like helping with art for the species, like so like event art and things like that. So I did like illustrations for the events, I believe. Um and then just there's a certain thing that really got on my nerves is when I would have to make let's say I made an adopt. So when I was able to make adopts and stuff like that, I also remember I was in like high school. I was still in high school, and I was eventually going to be able to move to go to college, go do college and stuff like that. Um, but I also had a job back in 2020/2021, and it was really difficult for me to just be able to be expected to do so much work that was for free, and also do schoolwork, draw my for myself, and then go to my job. It was a part-time job, but I'm not gonna lie, they worked me like crazy. They would try and have me come in like all every other. Actually, the reason why I have panic attacks relating to jobs is actually because of that job. But I feel like that's a story for another day. It's food industry job. It's not my current job. My current job, I do not get any panic attacks. Actually, sometimes I look forward to it, which is saying something. That's saying something. I really like my job right now. Even though it's like part-time and I'm not getting as many hours as my previous job, but that's okay. I'm not going to complain too much, obviously. I'm on the internet. I don't want to lose it. But so, but what I'm saying here is that I was kind of expected to have like almost all the time in the world for this species. And don't get me wrong, like I love Solum species. I have such an emotional attachment to this species that I cannot like sell or let go any of the designs that I have obtained within the community for that reason. But it's that I was just I believe that I was mistreated by the owner of the species, as there were a lot of times where they would berate me or this or that for like be like, oh, you're doing this wrong, and then I would explain to them like, no, I've been cataloging everybody, and I've been even doing double checks as well. So, and just like, and because I was the only one who was actively doing things, that's how they would notice when something was actually done. um and then and another thing was, okay, like I said, whenever I posted adopts, there would be a problem, and the reason why there would be a problem is because there was this thing called a cooldown. So when you post, let's say when you're posting something on Instagram, and you don't want to like overpost your previous post, so that just means like, so when you post, you kind of want to get as much reach as you can. But if you make a second post, that post is going to get more reach, because now the attention is on that one rather than the previous one. So we made sure we had a cooldown time. So whenever a designer or artist or a person of the staff posts a design or adopt, they would basically, what the, I think I messed up something. Okay, it's back. Sorry. I did something weird and I was like, what is going on? Hello? Hello? Okay. Okay, going back to Okay, so back to the past. Jingle jingle back. Um so in the back rooms, I lost my train of thought. Help, guys. This is why I like can't talk about anything negative. Um and to be fair, I feel like when I talk about this, it's not as bad as it sounds, but when I typed it out, every time I typed out my issues with the staff, and like not the staff but like the owner and the species, it's like a nothing burger. Like people are like, what are you complaining about, Lou? um a lot of it was just like I felt like I was like there was a lot of miscommunication, or I lacked like there was just things that something I always did. It felt like I always did something wrong, and then I was put in blame for it. And then I never really got recognized for any of the work that I did. Or and then when it comes to like being able to post, the only thing that I would be able to get any compensation for my work, I would be told, oh my gosh, you overposted someone. And then the thing is, wait I would wait for an hour. I wait for 2 hours, because that was the cooldown. But then I would be told like, you overposted, because it was like on the owner's side or something. When she checked her phone, there was like, it would be like 1 minute or something, and she would get on my butt about it, and I'll be like, oh, you, on my end it shows that I waited 2 hours. So I would always wait an extra few minutes and stuff, and she would still kind of get on my butt, and I'm like, oh. And it happened every single time. And it was only for a few months that I was like a part of the event staff, because I do remember making some adopts. When I joined stat, so then I left because I said I was dealing with a lot in school, and that I was trying to go to college and this and that. So I quit the staff team, and but eventually I ended up coming back when they had positions again, because I came crawling back, guys. I came crawling back, because I love the species so much, and I feel bad because like um a part of it feels like I was being taken advantage of because of, my love for the species. And so, you could do whatever you want to people when they love something, or when they're so passionate about something. And and honestly, people should never do that. Hello. Hello, Evan Ford. Pollo. 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 Let's go. For real, for real. All right. Um, but oh no, I love when I have to erase so many details. It's my favorite. It's my favorite part of the drawing process. All right. Um okay. So, yeah, I'm not going to linger too much on being in like the event staff, and just it was just the little things. It was the little things that got to me, and I was really busy with I was busy with school, I was busy with work, and I wanted to just be able to draw and do stuff. And sometimes I would sit down and I would spend like 6 hours maybe on like um on an issue or something relating to like the bank, the event bank, or uh whatever the issue was. And it was frustrating, and I know for a lot of people who are also a part of the staff team of that species, also really struggled as well. And it was more so just all the little things that added up to the bigger thing, like the bigger issue. And it was more so um that it was being run like it. I know it's a community, but you also kind of have to run your communities like it's a business, and I know a lot of people don't like hearing that. And it's like, oh, but we're all family. No, bro, this is a business. Like, that's how you have to treat, like, you have to treat organizations. This is how you have to approach uh yeah, so you have to approach communities like it's a business. You have to approach whether it's, for profit or not. um but yeah. All right, I am done with the line work. Now I can color. Thankfully, this character has very little, very little like color palette. So, all right, let's get that started too. You guys get to watch me color. Yay! And then I put it on the wrong layer. Alright. There you go. Let's see what I can do. Okay, so continuing on, I guess I'll talk about my artist experience. It was a lot better than my event artist. I wasn't really, I didn't really get a lot of flack for a lot of things, and I was also able to make at least 4 designs if I did all the requirement art. So requirement art was still hard because I had to make a lot of art assets for the community, and those art assets were mainly things for like their info sheets and like relating to their pets, pet species, and this and that. And it was just kind of, it was a lot of work. And I also, it was more like an event, it was like an artist role, but we also did like a lot of insert me going wee. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. I don't even know what to. I don't even know what to say. You know, I want to move on from like Solemn Species because it's kind of such a sore spot for me right now. There's just so much that when I try to talk about the species, it's just really hard. Um, because I love the species so much, but there were a lot of flaws to it. More so when it came to like the management of people and the just I think one of the things is I wish the creator was the owner of the species was a little bit more like understanding and empathetic. But you can't really, be too demanding of things like that from people, I guess. Um, but okay, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on to something else instead. So what I'm gonna move on to, I'm still gonna be talking about closed species and stuff. I'm just gonna be talking about my experiences with I guess I'm not really sure because honestly my early experiences with closed species was a lot harder than like, now because I've integrated myself with the community and stuff like that. And I advocate for myself now rather than when I was younger. I didn't really advocate for myself, and that made it really hard for me within these spaces. And I think that's one of the biggest advice that I'd give people is to be um to know your boundaries, and and know what you can do and what you can't do, and stuff like that. And I think that can be applied with almost anything. um so, and my legs, I'm losing feelings in my legs right now. I is there I'm wondering if there is an unshaded version of this character. So let me look this up. Let me see if this person's character has a shaded version, because um why is this character reference shaded while I'm trying to draw? Oh my goodness. At this point, I think I should just include the shading and draw with the shading. It's the character is literally like this white character with like dark, like black brown accents, but it's a little difficult. Sorry, you may hear my family in the background. Actually, I'm gonna mute myself real quick. I'll be right back, guys. All right, so I'm back a little bit. Um, okay, so I guess let me see. I'm looking at the reference on my phone instead, and I'm seeing if there's like a is there a non-shaded reference, and it doesn't look like there is. So yeah, no, my stream didn't cut short. I just paused for a second. Um, I had to mute myself because my family's in the kitchen and my room's on the bottom floor, so I'm very close to the kitchen right now. So the character has shading. Um, uh, I think you know what. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this drawing and work on it later when I'm not in the stream because this one's a lot harder than I thought it would be. I was like, okay, let's just draw this. Okay, so um instead I'll work on I need to find something that'll be kind of mind numbing, so it'll just be like easier for me. We'll finish up two of my drawings here. So we'll finish up this one. I was actually trying to record a video with this drawing in the background while I was working on it, and then I lost my mind because I kept trying to re-record and do this and that. So that's not gonna that art piece is not gonna be that video is not gonna come out to ever exist. So oops, my bad. And this is a second drawing. This is actually an adoptable that I'm working on for a closed species called Trinketeers. I am actually a guest artist there, meaning I'm there for about a month, and then I make two designs, and then I leave. so, um, so that's there. That's that. Um, so those are some updates right there. Like I said, I mentioned that I am part of the Halotars staff, as I am a permanent guest artist. That means I have the same permissions as guest artists, but I am permanent, meaning I am a permanent resident within the community as in the staff team. Um, but I'm hoping eventually I'll be able to uh, like become a designer for the species, but right now it's permanent guest artist, and I'm still pretty happy. I get to make up to 5 designs, and then I have to make 2 extra designs that are for free. So in total I would be able to get to make 7 designs, which is pretty cool. This is pretty awesome. I love making designs, and I'm not always, just because I was talking about not being compensated for the species, the Solum species, when I was working with them, um, doesn't mean I don't like doing free work. Because, as a permanent guest artist, I like being able to make um as an artist in general and a designer, like adoptables designer, I love making free designs. It is actually one of my favorite things to do. However, free designs do not pay the bills. So being able to make more designs for profit does help me as an artist. And being allowed to do, and this is why this is important, why I'm saying this right now, and that's why I was complaining about that. Even though I had a part-time job and I was schooling in high school, um, there's still, you still have to be compensated. You still have to be able to make a profit, um, within these communities for your labor. I think people should be paid for their work. I think artists, even people who are a part of these communities, should be paid or compensated in some way. And that's what I believe. So that's what I'll say. Um, and I will say I am properly compensated, and I am given as a permanent guest artist within Halotars. I do get I am actually properly compensated, as I get full benefits or profits from my adopts that I sell. So some communities, some adoptable and close species communities will take a percentage of your profits. Um, so it makes it a lot harder for artists to make 100% profits. So that is something that I am very very thankful for as a position that I get in the Halatar species. I am also, I will say I am a designer, not a permanent guest artist, but a designer within a different species called the Cosmin species. Currently, they're kind of like, their activity is very low, but I think a lot of it is just because um, the only people who are really active is the owner, and sometimes I draw free designs for them, but I just, the community's kind of dead, so I don't really make a lot of for profit designs. And if I do make designs for that community, it's because I want to help revive the species for the I want to help the owner. It's more out of my goodwill of just wanting to help people out. Um but I don't make designs often for that species. And I know, talking about that, you guys are like, what are these species? What are you talking about? And I'll just you know what, I'm gonna bring up an empty file so I can just like pull up stuff. So here's my designs that I made um in the month of June for Pride Month, and these are some designs that I made for the Cosmin species. They're like a wyvern dragon species. They're kind of, they have these uh kind of like transparent void capsules or something. They're like glass capsules a part of their bodies, and they're kind of wyvern like. They're pretty sick and I love them, but sometimes they're just a lot too much for me to draw. So that's why I don't really make many designs of them often, while compared to Halatars, where it's like, even though I have more limited slots within the species, meaning I don't get to make as many designs, like as compared to if I were a designer where you get unlimited, um like you can make unlimited designs for them. um but for Holotar species, they're a very active community. I think they have over 2,000 people within their community, and every time I sell and adopt it, it sells. So, and that's something that I can really much appreciate, being platformed in this community. I really appreciate the staff members onboarding me. So, and here's two designs that I made recently. This is a teacup, the tea themed. Um, so those two, and I did explain a little bit of what Halatars were. Um, they have these like funky little masks, and they're kind of bird-like. Um, and I don't know if they have extensive lore, but they have lore. So, and I find that so interesting about a lot of these species, is that they have like, sometimes they'll have so much lore. Um, but the Halatars is pretty like, ooh, cute uh critter. Yippee. um so there's that. Now, I feel like I'm just kind of rambling now, and I apologize, guys. That's, oh dear, oh me, oh my. Um, let's see if I have any other species. I think when it comes to close species, most people, when it comes to mind, they're going to think about things like constellions. They're like these lions with stardust parts in them, or they're going to think about chimerions, which are these. They're the furry character. They're these anthropomorphic furry characters with um horns on them. They're inspired by the Jackson's chameleon. Um and I know that community has like a whole boatload of controversies, but I'm not really here to talk about that because I've never been a part of those controversies or things like that. I'm only telling you guys my experience with the communities that I have participated in. Um And actually, the character that I was drawing earlier is from a community called Star Snares, which are they're like a fluffy dragon-like species. But their community is more based on the lore rather than the unique anatomy of the species. So sometimes, love you too, Mom. Good night. But sometimes the species, okay, I'm sorry, my mom's saying good night. But okay, so what I was saying. Okay, so sometimes closed species will be more based on the community and the lore rather than the unique anatomy, because some closed species will be more, their community is more focused on the unique anatomy, while some will be more based on the lore. For my species, I actually do have a species, but it's not closed, it's an open species. These guys, open just means you can make your own. You can make your own and you don't have to ask me. Now, for a closed species, they have rules and this and that. I don't really have rules. I'm like, I don't really care. So I'm gonna show you guys my little guys. They're called the froggy species, and I know it's like, wow, how original, Lou. Don't you have isn't your username Lou Frog? Yes. All right. So actually, this is only part of the trait sheet. Let me see if I can find the full thing. I'm so sad. All right. Well, I guess I don't have the full thing. Anyways, so froggy species are a humanoid slash I'll show this adopt here. This is kind of the best example. So they're kind of a humanoid slash anthro species. So that means you have like a human aspects to the design, but then they can also be more anthropomorphic or like furry like. So this is a design that I recently hosted on a different I hosted as a raffle. Meaning it's a giveaway design. Um but you can see there's human aspects to the design, but you can still see the anthropomorphic design aspects and stuff like that. Actually, Froggy here, my little PNG icon, my little PNG tuber, my critter on the side here is a frog. They are actually patient zero, the first frog, and then I made frogs based on my persona. That's very egotistical of me, but I also thought I feel like people would like the concept of frogs because Froggy does actually have extensive lore. My persona, I don't really talk about my persona's lore or anything like that. I feel like I should. I feel like I should do a stream where I just talk about Froggy and Froggy lore and stuff like that. And then, so just based on my persona, I made a whole species, and then my species right now on Discord, we have about 147 members. I think we have a few more people joined, so we may have like 150 now, which is honestly an amazing milestone since I made the server back a year ago, actually. I made it a year ago in January, so actually we're coming up on like 2 years now soon, which is going to be so exciting. And I'm so proud of the community members. We're actually, right now on this Discord, we are hosting applications for moderators. We're looking for 1 to 2 moderators, and we're looking for event staff. So event staff would just help us with like events and stuff. So for events, we mostly do prompt lists. We make prompts and we have people like they would draw their characters or write or do whatever creatively to these prompts. But sometimes we do more creative events and games. Sometimes we'll host like a Hunger Games night, which we haven't done in a while, so I think we should do that soon. That's why I'm looking for event staff to help me with that because sometimes I don't have all the time. So I'm trying to delegate some of that work out. And I'm gonna explain what I will be compensating people with because I've been talking about how important that is. A lot is it's all basically volunteer work when I hire people, but I really appreciate as much as whatever. I do try to give people perks and make them feel special though. So um that is something that I try to do. I try to make sure my staff feel loved. um so then we're also doing applications for designers as well. These designers get full profit. So do event staff. As event staff and moderators can make their own adopts. I'm also working on right now. I Not right now, but soon I need to work on bases for my moderators and staff who can't draw, so they can use that to make their own adopts. So if they want to make giveaways or make profit, I want to be able to give them resources so they're able to do that creatively. So that's something that I know I need to work on. Actually, one of my moderators like, I'm gonna commission you. I'm like, no, 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 you don't need to do that. And I have yet to make the bases, but I already have some free to use bases. And you're wondering, what are bases, Lou? Before I keep on going and I go on a freaking tangent, you know. So real quick, so these are base adopts that I've made. As you can see, there's like a little template already of the froggy, and then I changed maybe little aspects of it, like maybe they have different traits, or like little like objects or accessories. Their glasses will be different. So this is like a base of mine. I'll actually show you guys a base that I'm working on. I'm working on another base adopts. These will be free. I will be giving these away on my server. Whenever I make base adopts, they're always free. So these are based on different flowers here, and as you can see, here's like the different drawings the like, if I take away, let's say I take away the I'm gonna take away the flowers and stuff. So let's take away the flowers. So this is what a base is. So you have the baseline of whatever, and then let's say you want to add stuff to it. So we're going to add the flowers and things. So now this is what makes the design a little bit new or unique, and then I would color them in and have different patterns and stuff. So that's what a base adopt is, basically. No pun intended. But I'm hoping to be able to make bases exclusive for my moderators and staff. So for people who cannot draw, I want them to be able to have those resources. And I find that very important. And I may not be able to personally pay my staff, but I want them to have the opportunities to be able to, if they need to make a profit, then they would be able to. And also there are no obligations for my staff. They're not obligated to work the whole time. Like if for my moderators, I only ask for how active they think they are, but if they're not active, that's fine. I don't really care. I'm mainly the sole active person in my community when it comes to moderating stuff. We don't really have a lot of drama. I think the most drama we had is one person coming in and sending a scam link, and then I had to delete their comment and then ban them. That was the most drama we've ever had in our silly little frog community. So, well, that and an ex-friend of mine that I had to ban, but that's a story for another day. That's nothing affiliated with closed species and stuff, and I'm not really comfortable talking about that ex-mutual / friend of mine. I feel really bad. So, but yeah, I just had to go a little side tangent to talk about my open species, because I love talking about froggies, and I would love to talk to you guys, to tell you guys more about froggies and their lore, because I feel like I need to make an extensive breakdown of froggy species, because I feel like people who join my server are like, they really want to know about the lore. However, I have a really hard time explaining it through images rather than if I were to just lay it all out. So I think my next stream, I was thinking of just talking about drama about like closed species, but I think I'm going to change it to where I talk about froggy species, and I will be a lot more upbeat about, of course. I'll be a lot more upbeat. I know that I'll be more attentive to the voice call and things like that, and then I'll also be able to like engage with y'all more. Um, and answer. I'll also be able to answer questions and things like that. So that's something that I'm thinking about. Is I'll do that for the next stream. I'll talk about froggy species, um, and a little bit of their lore, because it is quite extensive. I just haven't had time to sit down and draw everything out. I'm my my attention is spread thin because I'm trying to do so many things at once. When I really should just focus on one thing and pick it. But um, yeah, and I would like to be able to progress the species further, so then I could be able to introduce like other other aspects to the world and things like that. But we are hosting an event in October. We'll be doing a prompt list event where it's kind of like, Inktober, Goretober, etc. Tober. We'll be doing Frogtober. It's more like OC Tober. People can just draw their original character. I actually don't care. But we would prefer that people draw their frogs or their frog characters or create their own. For the prompts, we'll have extra. We'll probably. I know what I'm gonna do for that event, but I'm giving a little bit of a preview for folks who are within the species and listening in on my stream, so you get to know a little bit of what is to come for the next event. So you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek here if you're you're paying attention. I'll say this again too tomorrow as well. So, and I know there'll be more people who are active because I know doing this live stream at a really odd hour. So, it'll be a prompt list like Inktober, slash or Gotober or whatever Tober you want to use. And then at the end of the prompt list, there will be 2 rewards. So, and that's what I'm gonna say. And and the rewards, most of the time rewards will either be, when I do rewards for the species, it's either I'm not gonna lie, I'm not doing an art reward. I'm not doing free art because that actually exhausts me. So instead, I'm going to most likely be doing a giveaway of a design that I've pre-made for that event. But you guys may be able to convince me to do an art giveaway for the end of the event. If and by the way, our prompts are also, they're artist friendly, writer friendly. So that means if you're a writer, you can join them as a writer. If you're an artist, you can do art stuff. If you do crafts, we highly encourage to do crafts or baking. I don't really care. Be creative. Make music, honestly. I don't mind. So that is something that I will say for any type of prompt that we do within the frog species. We try to make sure, one of the main priorities is to make sure that it can be universal, that it is not just art specific, but it can be made into all different forms. So I try to make sure we are inclusive with our events, and a lot of closed species events, you would be getting in species currency. Froggy species, we don't have that gamify aspect to us because anyone can make their own, so we don't need items and stuff to make your own froggy. So instead, like, our external motivator, which is like prizes and stuff, if people don't want to enter just because they want to enter, we give away designs or art and things like that instead, to motivate people. But but I think a lot of times people just join because they want to just do it for fun, which is how, honestly, what we want to encourage is people just to join just because they can. But they're also not obligated to join because, once again, it's supposed to be fun. So yeah, I guess that's my tangent about. I mean, I know I was trying to talk about closed species, but I'm not gonna lie, I pivoted because I wanted to talk about something that I really enjoy. I What's the species currency? Okay, so to go back, closed species is a closed community, and closed species is also a concept of a creature, that so let's say a creator, some artist makes up a concept of a species, and then they don't want other people to draw to make their own character within that concept. They have to give permission to people to make characters, creatures, uh, within the concept that they made. So then, now, closed species typically have communities, and like can be forums, can be Discord servers, can be on Instagram, communities on Instagram, this and that. And a lot of closed species, because they're very exclusive, and they're, and I don't want to say kind of gatekeepy, but like you're not allowed to make your own, or you're not allowed to do a certain thing. They do hold events that allow you to get in, like gamify currency, that then allow you to get these items that you can eventually make your own, or obtain a creature within that community. So species currency, when I say species currency, it's more like I said, it's more like a gamified aspect to community. So that's the best way I can really explain that. It's kind of a weird roundabout way. It's hard to really understand these terms when you're not a part of those communities, and that's completely understandable. So I'm really trying my best way to simplify and explain this. Um I feel like it may be a lot easier for me to explain it if I like draw things out, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm like kind of burnt out right now. Like I'm really tired and I don't feel like drawing. I know I have this drawing right here, but I would rather have you guys look at something pretty than than me like have nothing on the stream and you guys just hear my voice. Um, you get visual stimuli from being here on screen. um but yeah, thank you for asking. I think that is a good question. So, um, but yeah, that's one of the main motivators for people within these communities and participating in events and prompts is the gamified currency that they would typically have. Uh, but yeah. I don't know how long I'm gonna have the stream for. Uh, I just don't know what else to talk about closed species wise in my experiences, because my most of my negative experiences were when I was just starting out, and trying to figure out my bearings within um uh staff members, and just kind of that sphere of the community when it comes to closed species and stuff like that. Um, I honestly, I don't think I'm like too much of a defender of a lot of closed species. Um, but the only thing that I will defend is whenever like there's a controversy with artists selling their designs. I know a lot of people are like, why are these designs so insanely expensive? And I know a lot, and one of the reasons why designs will be expensive within these communities is because of the exclusivity of the species in the first place, the content of what the design is, rather than who, and sometimes it can be both the exclusivity of it is a part of a closed community, or it was designed by a very popular designer. So that can be a factor as well. Sometimes a design is just designed by an artist who's more well known, so that will up the price as well as the exclusivity of the design. So um and that's just my best explanation. And I know some people just get really upset of like I kind of don't really understand why people get so upset at artists when they price something a bit higher or this or that. And people will always try and kind of complain about like artists who have their prices. Hold on, I gotta plug in my computer. It's like saying it's dying. I knew this was gonna happen. Um but I know that people get upset when it comes to like artists who I just barely found the stream recommended. Uh, I just barely found the stream on my recommended, and all of this is new to me. No, that's totally fair. Um, you kind of just joined with no offense or anything. I really appreciate new people. Thank you for being here, but I am kind of just jumping into a topic, and we are like in the 1 hour mark. Just to give you a heads up, we're about like 1 hour and 20 minutes in, and I did the whole shebang of like the uh oh my god, terminology and stuff, and I'm just kind of losing steam right now. I'm really tired. I got off work actually earlier today. um and I was really pumped up to make a video because I met a coworker who also owns a YouTube who has a YouTube channel, and I watched his videos and stuff because he was wanting to hire me to do some artwork for him. But I got really pumped up and I was like, I want to do a live stream. So now here I am. But I was trying to make a video earlier today talking about my experiences with close species and the adoptables community, which is a very specific niche within the art community, let alone it could be a subsection within the furry community too. So there's kind of a crossroads there. um I prefer drawing more human, like humanoid or human characters in my art, but I do a lot of my income comes from furry artwork. So I'm just gonna put that out bluntly. Like just put that out there. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the best way um as to say this, I think the best thing for if you're an artist and you're looking to make money or make yourself a business, like an entrepreneur business, finding a niche is the best thing you can do for yourself. So, and for my niche, it's close species and adoptables, which it's really hard to find a video. In my opinion, it's hard for me to find a video that talks about close species and adoptables in a neutral light, because a lot of times people just have a lot of negative on it because it is such a niche community. It's a niche and um and can be exclusive community, and I can understand why a lot of people get upset relating to this community. And not being able to have like easy access to it, because you do kind of have to be, either you have to be an artist, or actually you have to be an artist if you really want to get in, or you have to have the money to be able to afford paying for these designs. So that's kind of the unfortunate thing about this community. But I do think once you're able to get in within the community, you can pretty much thrive. So that's what I'll say about that. And I think this can apply to any community, honestly. Like, you can say this about any fandom spaces. Let's say like anime, but now when I say anime, now you have to kind of think of specific shows too. So then you kind of get more down in the nitty gritty. Um, and and I think that's like, oh man, I'm like losing it right now, y'all. I'm like, ooh, let me clear this hand right now. Let me draw a hand. Um, yeah. Whatever. My brain is turning to mush as I speak right now. So, I guess to kind of close out, I think I'm gonna close this video. I'm gonna end this stream here. But tomorrow, I'll talk about froggy species, which are a species that I made, and they're not closed, they're open, meaning anyone can make a design themselves if they want within the community and the species. um and I'll bring up froggies again, since you got some new people here and I'm noticing people joining. So actually, let me get the Get the trait sheet out. Well, let me find that. If I can find it. I can't find it on my computer, guys. I'll just have to pull up, like, my... You know what? We're pulling up the avatar real quick. The avatar. So, let me pull out my silly Billy here. My beautiful frog. We'll pull up the reference sheet of frog here. So, frog species, I'm gonna do a quick overview for you guys who don't know, what for the new people. Frog species, this is a frog right here. We're gonna circle them. Um, and they're open, so that means anyone can make one. They are humanoid, so they got human aspects to them. So they got like these little floppy, little ears, and these paddle-like tails that have mouths and eyes. They're kind of semi-sentient tails. They can bark and like make noises on their own, but they're not able to eat anything. They are kind of used as backpacks from their main host, right? So this is the main host. That's like the little symbiotic tail that they have attached to them. They're actually an amphibious species despite their humanoid appearance. Their universe and world is very weird, and that's what I'll say. And then they're able to transform into a smaller form called the travel size. So this is just means they're literally travel size. That means they're like miniature. And this is where the anthropomorphic kind of comes in. So I know they look like little squishy like things, but realistically they would kind of look like let me draw this out real quick. They would kind of look like this, like realistically. They would kind of have like kind of more anthropomorphic proportions. I know some people like to draw them with hind legs. I'm trying to draw hind legs right now, and I'm really struggling for some random reason. But and then some people just like to draw them like they have human legs. So it really just depends on the artist. Yes, you can make a Neanderthal frog. Funny enough, I was actually thinking about I'm working on lore for the species here, and ancient frogs of what their ancestors would look like, because I love, one of my passive interests is like theoretical evolution, like I guess hypothetical evolution. There's an actual term for it. I just can't think of it right now. If anyone of you guys can think of it before me, I'll give you guys like internet cookie. Okay, there you go. I couldn't draw hind legs. So some people draw their hind legs like that. Some people just draw them like their human legs. I personally draw them like their human legs. So that's how I personally like draw these forms when I draw them in full. But a lot of times I'm lazy, so I'll draw them in their chibi, kind of squishy like looking form rather than like, their full look. But they're technically like a human slash furry species, so it really just depends on the artist and what they can draw. I have a co-creator who helped me develop the species and the lore, and she recommended me to make an anthropomorphic version of them so they would be more accessible to more community members. Because within the adoptable slash species community, the niche that I'm talking about, there are more people who are furries than just human artists who draw humans, or humanoids. So I had to branch out to make a furry slash anthro form of my species so I could be able to reach more of an audience. But because of that, I am really glad that I'm able to combine both sides of the community within my own niche that I've created. And it's a lot of fun, actually. It's really interesting. I feel like I made like a science project. But actually, if you guys are interested, I could put up the species Discord server if you guys want to join. I do not require. We used to require people to have a toy house, but you're not required to have a toy house. But if you want to obtain designs from myself or any of the other like staff members of the species, you would have to get a toy house. However, you can just ping me on Discord and I'll just give you a code so you can make an account. Toy House is a website. It's a character collector website, but it's a private website, so you have to get invited to get in. But I have like 100 invites, so I can get you guys in, so don't worry. So let me pull up the invite and I'll let you guys. Wow, I can change it to never. Hold on, let me like never expire. Hold on, let me like, because oh my goodness, I'm like struggling to talk right now, guys. I am losing my mind. Let me change this to not be ugly background real quick because nobody likes ugly background. Okay, I don't want to copy link. I want to find. I want you to give me the link. Okay, sorry. I'm like yelling at my phone right now. Let me see if I can send the link to my partner. Okay, so this is the link. I'm gonna write it out, so pardon my handwriting if you guys like die or something from my handwriting. Trust, guys, I'm a full-grown adult. I'm just like, okay, my computer's lagging now. Awesome. And then I think after this I'm gonna end the stream, but I want to leave you guys with like I'm promoting my species. I'm doing self promo. But you know, but tomorrow I will be going more a deep dive of my species. So if people are interested in the lore and like the community and stuff like that and like what we do, I'll be going more into depth tomorrow in tomorrow's stream. I typically, okay, by the way, this is a 2 if you're wondering. I'm trying to draw 2, and then this is an S, and then these are capital, by the way, and then G and Z are lowercase. So we'll put this for, you know, it's capital or underscore, and this is a 2. This should be 2. Alright, so this is the Discord invite right there, and that's a Z at the end. My partner is texting me. Hold on, let me text him back. Right. Cool. So I'll also send the invite to my other Discord server for people who haven't joined. I believe Uni, you're in my private one, my private server. If you check self promos in the chat, you can find my Froggy Species Discord. We still require people to write, so just a disclaimer, if you join the server, we do require people to make an introduction, but this is just so we know that you're not like a bot or a spam or something like that, but it's no worries. And if you don't have a Toy House link or Instagram, just say not NA. Instead you can type you came from the live stream and I'll let you in. So but that's for anyone who's here, who's in the live stream and who wants to join. But yeah, so I guess for my end of discussion of close species is that, like, my own opinions on them can be just kind of like, I'm kind of indifferent, really. It's a love-hate relationship. I think it can be fun when you're not a part of the staff, but if you're a part of a good community, it will also be fun if you're also part of staff. But if you're part of a bad community, it's not fun for everybody. I think this can be said about any community, though. Like, you can either have a lot of fun hanging out, doing stuff. If, you know, I think with I think with organization, actually, this is what I'm gonna say. With organization, things can be more fun. Without that, it may be a lot harder. Especially with Discord communities, with like niche communities like closed species and stuff like that. Because even within, when I say closed species, there are specific communities that are revolve around this concept. So, and those itself is what I mean by niches. Um, but yeah. All right. I am losing it. So I think I'm going to end the stream now since we're hitting the hour past. We're almost to the 2 hour mark. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, guys. I really was hoping to like not ramble on like this, and I do hope that my voice was at least nice to listen to while you're doing laundry or something. If my friend was here, he would say I sound like a a fork on a plate. So, um yeah. Anyways, I know I need to work on being more professional for my streams, but I think the thing about streams is just the authenticity, I guess. Yeah, time flies. That's fair. Um yeah, I just have a hard time articulating and stuff. Um so and I know I need to get better at that, but for me to get better at that, I know I have to have repetition and stuff. Um and that's just kind of the reality of things. So, I'm gonna end the stream before I keep going on rambles because I know I just ramble. It's the ADHD and the autism that it's crazy for real. Time to oh hello Butter Cubic. I did not notice you were here. Uh I only saw you when you said hello, and then now you show up again. Time do fly for real, for real. Um but yeah. I'll talk more about froggy species tomorrow. I'll actually have all the trait sheets and everything, and I'll just go through everything. And I'll make sure the video is more the live stream side like video is more organized. So, good night. Everyone should have a good night and sleep well. If you're watching the stream and it's a different